I think it saves them money doing that because you're going to make less mistakes. We're going to, really have our eyes on that plan, making sure that every door swing is, the right way, that, where a pocket door needs to be. All these things that, we help them through that. I just feel like it ends up being so much better than just someone coming to us with plans like, here, I have plans and like, can you build this?
Today on the podcast, we had Angela and David Penzak, builders out of Texas, and we had a great interview. It was really fun to hear David's story. He was an entrepreneur at an early age, wanting to start his own business, built hotels, restaurants, bounced back and forth. Angela had a really cool business as well, having a professional photography business for 13 years. And so just talking about their journey, how they met, how they got into building homes, you're going to hear it all in this podcast episode. So without further ado, here's Angela and David. Welcome to the Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today, I'm joined with Angela and David Penzak from I was thinking of Texas and like San Antonio, but you're not in San Antonio.
No, we're actually in Garden Ridge, but we build in San Antonio and the surrounding hill country. So
I looked at your list of all the places you build. I mean, I would need like a Rand McNally map to like try. I don't know the state of Texas very well, other than the big cities, but it's like.
Have you ever heard of New Braunfels?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Other than it's all over your website.
It's an old German town, but it's just a really great town and a lot of entertainment, good restaurants.
How long have you guys lived there?
Oh, well, I'm from San Antonio. I was born and raised here, but we've lived here for 12 years. No, okay. 13 years.
Well, yeah, we lived in this house for 13 years, but you were here for your whole life on and off. And then I got here about 5 or 6 years before that.
I'm a military brat.
Oh, nice. Well, we'll dive all into that. I wanted to bring you guys on. We've been friends for 3 years. It was 3 years ago, almost to the week in May, where we both met. We went to the Contractor Coalition, the inaugural one in Nashville. Right. And, we stay in touch. And now you guys are leading one of our Curious Builder collectives, which is really cool. And I was commenting this morning, actually, I called Morgan Molitor on the way in because she was one of the 3 principals for, and she didn't answer, but I left her a video of just like how small the world has gotten. And basically, if you're not an alumni at this point of Contractor Coalition, like hurry up and join the club because the team is pretty great.
I know. Yeah. You guys are our family.
I do have a memory of that first Contractor Coalition that, who's that guy up there asking 100 questions?
That was you, Mark.
Mark, you were on it, man.
I love it.
I didn't even need to come prepared.
No, you know what's funny? He goes, oh, he must be a brand new builder, like doesn't know anything. And then he looked you up and goes, oh, no, he's not. Look at him.
That's funny. Turns out it's not a brand new builder, but he doesn't know anything. So you're 50-50 on that one, David. You know what's funny is people comment on that all the time. Even before I knew, because that was before I started the Curious Builder podcast. That was about 6 or 8 months before I started it, because that was in May and I started the podcast in September of that year. Brad Levitt brought me on his podcast after meeting him at the Contractor Coalition for the first time. And I was like, wow, people get to talk to each other. It's like therapy that you don't pay for. Although actually,
I know. I'm going to start mine soon. I'm excited.
Right? I mean, it's therapy on air and everyone gets to listen to it. But what's interesting is just realizing how small your community is. And that what I took away from it is that no matter what city in the country you're from, as an owner, entrepreneur, we all struggle with the exact same issues. And so by talking about them, we elevate as a community. And that's really the power of the podcast world and really the tight-knit world of builders. I think it applies to anybody, but I feel like it's such a needed thing in our industry. And so it's been great to watch it just flourish.
I'm so happy that you started the collective because even our first meeting was so successful and I learned so much from the other builders as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We started the collective here. So it was a year ago that we started the Curious Builder collective. And what it was meant to be, as you well know, but for the audience, if they don't know what it is it lives between a Builder 20 group and the Contractor Coalition, which is 3 days. Builder 20s meet twice a year for 2 days. And it was something light, fast, just a way to speed up the whole process. Maybe people don't want to spend the money or don't have the time to travel around the country for multiple days at a time. And so the Curious Builder collectives were formed basically to be 3-4 hour meetings 4 times a year in a local community and really empower. I think Morgan talked about it all the time and she believes it. Now it's become my bumper sticker on life is collaboration over competition. Absolutely. And I feel like if you're not saying that, like the world is too small. There's so much open information everywhere. And so the idea that someone would know something that's like the old guard would historically think, I know something they don't, so I'm not going to share it because that's my competitive advantage. But honestly, don't you feel like that's kind of archaic thinking? Because the world is so far beyond that, that if you still believe that, like you're just going to be left behind.
Right, I do. I think I'm always asking questions. I must be like you, Mark, a little bit, because I'm always texting other builders, asking them different questions. And I think I just asked the other day, has anyone put one of those faux tile roofs on? I haven't used that product before. And I got like 6 different answers from 6 completely different builders. So,
Yeah, so all of the different contractor coalition, we belong to CBUSA. So that's a whole nother group of builders. We have 25 builders in the San Antonio
yeah, I think we
area,
have the biggest one in the.
biggest one. Yeah, and you can ask any question on there and everybody helps everybody.
I think the idea is that obviously we don't know all the answers. In fact, I use it as a selling point. Most people are not attracted to somebody that says, "I know everything." Like I can't. I don't know if
A
anyone is
know-it-all,
unless
you mean? I know it.
unless it was maybe. I will say this: like if my heart surgeon is like, you know what, in the middle of your heart surgery, I'm gonna have to ask a few questions, maybe Google it. I'm like, I actually wish you knew all the answers on this particular one. But like, I think it shows humility, which most people would.
Yeah.
I think we have a hard time maybe having humility, and it's like a learned process, but we certainly admire it when we see it. And I think we're drawn to people that have that that humble
Humbleness.
knowledge. Yeah,
Right.
and I think maybe it's authentic and being really approachable. Like I think that's why maybe as you get older, you're more comfortable with who you are, so you're more comfortable with sharing what you have because you don't feel threatened. And
Right.
so, if anything, this community sort of empowers you, and the more you share, the better you feel, the better they feel. It's kind of like this circle of winning. I mean, really, it's just that
Yeah.
it keeps feeling better and better. And as people's friendships grow, and like, why can't you ask questions? Like the other day, we're using Zip R12 on our upcoming Misa House project, our spec home
I've
that we're
been wanting to
building.
use an R zip.
Yeah, and so we actually been doing Zip R6 for a couple years now, and I love it. It's very simple. The rigid foam is built right into it, pushing that thermal envelope to the outside. In our climate, we're in climate zone 5 and 6, so it's pretty cold up here. But even in a hot climate, obviously, it's going to keep you cool better too. And so we're doubling that. We're going to an R12, and I just no one in our market has done it before. And when I was talking to the manufacturer, they said, "Hey, why don't you call this builder up in Massachusetts?" And I feel bad. I can't pull his name off the top of my head right now, but I called him and he gave me like 25 minutes of his time. He was more than happy to say, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is how we did it. This is what
That's
I'd
so nice.
recommend." And he said, "Hey, when you're installing it, if you have any questions, give me a call." And that's the type of world we live in. When you ask for help, you get
Yep.
it. And so that part's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the contract coalition group, we all share so much. I love that about this group.
Builder 20s have you sign NDAs, and I get it. Like you're sharing like all your financials, but the contractor coalition, that was Brad, Nick, and Morgan saying, "Here's everything we've got. Take
Right.
anything you want, repurpose it, reuse it." And I think seeing that you had these really high-end builders that are very well known say, "Take anything you want," I think it makes you more open too. I was always an open person,
Uh-huh.
but now I'm even more open than I was
Yeah.
before. Would you agree?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. For
Yeah.
sure.
I feel we are too. With all the different groups, it just, and they intertwine too. And it's just, everybody just shares. And I think it's because we're willing to share too
Mm.
our experiences
Yeah.
all the time. It's good.
What did you guys notice? So you guys just had your first collective just a few weeks ago, and it usually takes about 6 months to a year to get a big group together. And it's less about the number and it's more about what is discussed. What was your experience? I actually haven't talked to you. I mean, I talked to you the day
Oh,
after a
yeah.
little bit,
Well, the
but what
day
was
we had it, it was pouring down rain. I was
I
like,
mean,
"Oh my gosh, is everyone gonna not come now?" And some of them, it took an hour to get there, but it was just great. We sat around and it was like it's the best things when you go to IBS and you get to socialize with builders you haven't seen in a long time. It's like all the good stuff all right in one. We sat in the room. We had it at the Pella showroom, and we sat in this executive type of room. It was a long table with, I don't know, 12 chairs or something. And I loved it because you have already prepared all these topics for us. So I just went down the row and it brought up conversation, and we would get stuck on one question and not even make it to the next and start talking about stuff. And then I would go down and I'm like, "Oh yeah, we already talked about that." So it's really you guys have helped us to guide the whole thing too. So it's never like a dull moment of talking.
Yeah.
Part of it is just everyone, Angela, you and don't have a problem, and David either, with talking. And so that not everyone in the group is an uber communicator. And so you want to create a space that people feel safe and they feel like they can share. And part of as the groups get bigger, we break into small groups of 9. And I'm a non-builder group here in Minnesota called Coalition 9. And Aaron Eggert, the guy who created it, actually based the number. He's obsessed with 9. We had a whole episode just on the power of 9. But I didn't know this, that you mentioned you're a military brat.
Yeah.
The military squad is based on 9. And the concept in the group is that it's big enough to have, if there's a few quiet people, there's enough people that could carry conversation. But it's also small enough that it can be nimble and redirect. And one thing that is so fun about the smaller groups is the ability to ask questions. And there's a lot of times where the questions they're just there for prompts. But honestly, you don't even have to use a single question if you didn't want to.
No,
they're really
but they
just
were
prompts.
great. I just want to tell you, they were great though.
Good.
I really enjoyed having that, you know.
Well, and ours was about financing and banking, the first one we did. And I invited a guy that worked for a bank here that I've done business with. So he came.
He was great.
He was great. So and I think of it about when I talk to him that, hey, you should come and you get to be in front of a bunch of builders. These are opportunities for you as a bank. And then it's an opportunity for the people to ask you the questions too,
and
right?
They did.
And current market stuff and what's happening and what do you see happening the rest of the year. So he was just, and then I told him, he thanked us for inviting him after. And I said, look, sign up, come to every one of them and hang out, so that he has the opportunity, the people in our group have the opportunity to make a connection too as we get bigger. It was really good.
Diving back a little bit, just because there are many people that don't know you, and you guys have been building since 2012, is that correct?
Yeah, I have. Dave's been building a lot longer than me when he built restaurants.
Yeah.
Well, that was new to me. I mean, I'd love to hear about that, David. So it said you built for 30 years, designed and built restaurants. Like I've known you for 3 years. I had no idea that this was a past life of David. Like,
Yeah.
You got to tell me more about this.
So I actually changed directions while I went to Texas Tech, and my original major was Landman. So have you seen the movie or the show called Landman?
The series Landman? Oh, so good.
Oh God, you got to watch it. But anyway, so that's the job. I was a geologist basically, and then you go out and you negotiate land deals with people that had oil and stuff like that. So
wow, okay.
Then I started looking at rocks and all structures like that. I go, this really bores me. And they started the program, hotel, restaurant, and institutional management at Tech. And that's what I ended up graduating with. And I got really lucky. My first job out of school was Four Seasons Hotels. Still to this day, probably the best training I ever had. They're just such a first-class group. And then I moved up there a little bit, and then I went to my food and beverage director and said, hey, he goes, look, I really don't have any more for your skill set. And I was young, right? My first, think about this. My income was $16,000 a year. That's how long ago it was.
So were you in your teens or were you in your young 20s?
Young 20s.
Yeah.
And then he hooked me up with a guy that was doing a country French restaurant, single owner. If I knew then what a bottle of Petrus would be worth, I would have got it by the cases.
One of my obsessions last year was the book Unreasonable Hospitality, and it was about a restaurant in New York. And anyway, you brought up the Four Seasons. I'm just curious, have you ever thought about that now? I feel like building is ripe for a huge moment in hospitality. We're in people's homes. And I think if you were to poll the average client, and as a builder too, it's something we need to level up our business as well, because building a home is so intimate. And I've talked a lot about it on the podcast, but do you feel like some of your time at the Four Seasons, because they're a really elite hotel, do you feel like you've been able to apply some of the hospitality, or were you more on the construction side of things?
I think I always had the hospitality thing. It was natural for me. I was like social chairman for our fraternity. So, I mean, at Tech, and it was really easy for me to talk to people. So I think that worked well for me in that business. And then the real takeaway for me from Four Seasons, which is important for our business now, is the amount of training that they did and the courses they gave and how much time they really spent with you. But ultimately, I was wanting to go faster than what the framework of Four Seasons was going to take me at, because there's just so many people that work there that were really good, right? And so my food and beverage director at the time just goes, "Hey, I got this guy. He has a restaurant. He needs someone to run his restaurant from him." And that's when I went from the hotel to like single standing restaurant. And it was a country French place with a wine cellar downstairs. So I learned all about wine and that. And then that wasn't still good enough. So then I went and opened a hotel.
Was it the pace? I love your curious mind here. What was it that wasn't fulfilling that was it because you weren't the owner? What
Yeah, it was the owner part that I was always striving for.
did you know that at the time, or were you just restless
Well,
and not?
I wanted
You
to.
always knew.
Oh my gosh. Yes. He would ask for equity in every business.
Yeah. So that's.
And he made, when we got married, he kept, I think we're serial entrepreneurs. He was like, oh, we're going to open this because we sold these, we had these plates, right? And these white plates, he's like, hey, I can get these plates for us and we could open. So we were opening, and I had my photography studio at the time. It was called the White Plate Company. And we made a logo, and then it was so hard to photograph white plates. I mean, really? So I did this whole thing, and well, that was a big fail.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the fails. The idea of the fail.
I'm like, remember the White Plate Company that we opened? Oh my gosh.
And why did it
off
fail?
The restaurants, because we just thought our plates were so cool.
Right. Were they too expensive, or you just couldn't market them, or
no,
what was
no,
it?
Just never even.
It was really more of an online marketing, and we, between the two of us, didn't have that skill set, and we were still busy with our other jobs. So it just didn't go.
You know what's interesting? I think, especially as you get older and you hit, I don't want to call it midlife crisis. After a while, you get either burned out or you have a restless mind. You feel like you need something like something new. And it could be new within construction, right? You could go into spec home building. You could, maybe you only built 2 stories and you want to build villas, or there's so many different avenues within building. But I remember somebody, and I'm sure there's a better saying than this, but basically at some point you have to put like the Budweiser horses with the focuses on the blinders on the side, is like staying focused on being successful is probably not getting distracted. Sometimes people get bored with success. And I've never been successful enough to get bored with it, but I certainly have been just bored. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs probably struggle with this. I know I do. I joke that between Monday and Wednesday, I come up with 15 businesses, and by Friday, I've got to shoot them all down, or I'm going to start them all. Because
I think I have that problem sometimes.
I mean, don't you think the vision side of it, the vision and the drive, is what makes entrepreneurs successful? And you've been in business for 13 years, so you are successful by that definition of alone. But then the real challenge is how do you innovate without sort of alienating like what you're good at? And I've struggled with this mightily, because you get distracted by something that's new and shiny, and it doesn't mean it shouldn't be worth your attention. But if you were truly going to make money on it, you dial down. Right now, for those that aren't watching, Dave is just pointing at Angela.
No. He's even like that with the beginning of a build, the slab pour. I think he gets so excited the night before, like a kid waiting for Santa. And it's a slab pour tomorrow. Literally
Isn't that weird?
Up at 6 a.m. And he's just, and then
that's what you're excited about?
Then when it comes to the punch list at the end,
yeah, no one's excited about that one.
Anywhere. Yeah. I dislike punch so bad. Oh, fix the one plate on the wall.
I fired him from that now. Like our daughter came to work for us, and like she's going to be the punch.
So I derailed us. I apologize. So David, before you started the White Plate Company and you were married, we'll go back to how you guys met, because I think that sounds like it could be an interesting story. You left Four Seasons.
No, I left. Okay, so just real quick, and I'll go through it really quick. Left Four Seasons to go work.
Yeah, we don't have 3 hours.
Country French restaurant. Then left there to open a hotel. So I was in charge of fine dining, the restaurant, room service. So that was a pretty good push as far as management goes, instead of just being a single manager walking around a restaurant. Then I wanted the food and beverage director's job. And I was still young, right? I mean, the other person that was competing for it was 15 years older than me and had a ton of experience, but I was kind of pissed I didn't get the job. So I took another job and back to the single standing restaurants. And that's just kind of, it was from that point on till I just totally moved over to the building business. Custom home building business was all restaurants, different concepts. And
you skipped like all those years of restaurants like that.
But I'm just saying,
like we had like 8
the
restaurants.
podcast, we're gonna make it 10 hours because
No, you're taking forever to even tell the story.
Okay.
Hey, this is great. This is going to be a multi-series. Don't worry, Netflix will be calling. They want the whole story. I'm just doing the trailer.
This is just very mild for us. Okay, very mild.
Yeah, we always tell our clients, like, you might be uncomfortable in front of us sometimes because we're Mr. and Mrs. Bickerson.
This episode is brought to you by Adaptive. If you're still chasing checks and juggling spreadsheets, it's time to upgrade. Adaptive is revolutionizing how builders get paid with AI-powered bill pay, automated draws, one-click payments, and built-in lien waivers. Faster payments, fewer headaches, and total visibility. Adaptive takes care of the back-end chaos so you can focus on what you do best, building. We've used Adaptive for 2.5 years and trust them to keep our projects moving and payments flowing. Learn more at adaptive.build and simplify the pay process today. For more information, you can also listen to episode 10 and episode 15. So at what point did Angela come on the scene?
Well, okay, so I'm going to tell that story and I'll try to be quick. So
all right, you start with your history.
It won't be
he
quick.
was already like had restaurants for many years, and so there's a new restaurant was opening up and he was building it down the street, and I had just opened my photography studio, which I had for 14 years. I was a professional photographer and I did all the things. I was like president of our association on the board, and I taught nationally, all kinds of things. Like that career was so fun. Anyway, I went into the restaurant and I was like, "Oh, hey, I'm your new neighbor. I have a photography studio down the street." And then he was like, "Oh, do you photograph food?" And I'm like, "Well, no, not really," because I was specializing in newborns and maternity and kids and stuff. But I was like, "I can try." And he goes, "Okay." He was too cheap to want to pay. He was like, we do a trade?" And I'm thinking like, what are you going to give me? A combo plate? Like I'm expensive, you know? So I was like insulted, but I go, "Okay, look, here's what you can do. I'm going to have a grand opening and I'm going to have a grand opening party. You can cater the whole party." So that's what he did.
Oh, okay. I like it. Look at you guys.
Yeah.
I love that you guys met bartering.
And we're a blended family. He had 2 kids. I have 2 kids. We were both married before, so we had to come together. So hence why when we got married, we had to build our own house. Well, he already knew how to build, so I'm like, not a big deal, right? We'll build this 5,600 square foot house.
No, her budget was 4,000 square feet.
Well,
I
had to have a Christmas closet, but so yeah, we built a 5-bedroom house and I think 7 bathrooms, and it went crazy. Well, he was in Dallas building another restaurant. And so I had to be the project manager, and I really didn't know anything about building. And so there was many times I was in the car crying, like literally crying, because he was like, "I don't like the way that stone wall is. You need to go tell him to tear it down." And I was like, "What? I don't want to go tell him to tear it down."
Well, it started off with like,
you should see me today. I'm like, "Oh no, tear that
tear it
down."
down
no,
now.
no,
But
she has no problem now.
Yeah.
So was it during that build, Angela? Like during that process, when did you discover that you either had a talent or that's what you guys wanted to do together?
No. That wasn't during that.
Okay.
We built the house. We did great. Probably one of the best houses still. It was like our first luxury residential home.
I built it for $110 a foot.
Wow.
That's how long ago it was, man. This is crazy. Of course, there was no margin added to it because we were the builder, but
right.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh my God, crazy.
So
anyway, no, I still have my studio and I was still thriving on that and loved it. And because I'm an artist and I have to create things. So we actually didn't really start our business right after. What we did was we started off doing a couple specs and we just really loved it.
Basically on the side. So at this point, you didn't have, because I think
at least in this.
So I was an owner. I could do whatever project I wanted to do. And
we would go down to the rest. So I would go to my photography studio during the day. Then we would build the specs on the side, and I'm talking big luxury homes. Back then, like $1 million was a lot of money. And then we would go down to the restaurant at night and we'd walk in as owners and we would then I would.
Yeah, Angela would try to give away all our alcohol. She'd walk around with trays of mezcal and go, "Hey, try this."
Oh, funny.
Because we had 100. It was
I got to get them hooked, right?
It was called Tacos and Tequila. So we had over 100 different tequilas.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And it was so fun. The restaurant business, lots of fun. And we had this, the architect shoe what's his name? He was Michael Shue from Austin. He designed the restaurant. It was like just amazing. We had this like hanging rebar thing with glass on it that held 100 tequilas, different tequilas, and we had tequila on tap. So anyway, fast forward, the specs were very successful and we just kept building them, and then we got clients, and then we started getting busy, and then COVID hit.
So let me just pause you there for a second. So were you building those under your name, or did you start Penzac Builders
No,
at
we
that
started
time?
Penzac Builders.
Okay.
We did under Penzac Builders. We started a name. And
That was probably the toughest thing, is to get our brand recognized.
Oh yeah, right? Nobody knew us at all. And
at least not for building. They knew David from restaurant touring, and they knew you from photography.
Yeah.
But they're like, wait a minute, now you also build homes?
To this day, people will come up and they'll be like, oh, did y'all own that restaurant? Wait, weren't you that photographer? Because I mean, just the community knew us from those roles. But yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So now,
have you had anyone that you've taken baby pictures of that buy a house? Because that would be a cool story.
And I always say,
have you really?
That's going to be, yes. And I say, that's going to be my gift to you, is I'll do another session for you. Cause like now I just don't have time. I just did my niece's senior pictures. I had to do them. She's my niece. And I'm like, oh my God, all this editing was so much work. Now I forgot.
Do you take your own home photos?
I do take some, but I hire a photographer now because he gets mad that I'm editing too long. And he's like, you have better things to do.
Her skill set's much better place than photography. Run around and do it. And there's just people that are really good, quite frankly, not charging enough for it. You know what I mean? But it's a reasonable price. So
yeah, it's just too much time for me, but yes, I can do it. So I'm still trying to like win the Sub-Zero Wolf contest.
What is the contest?
It's like a photo contest of like, if you have the kitchens.
And you send that in. It's coming up soon, right?
Well, I mean, like 17,000 people enter it or whatever. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
So, but that's one of my goals in life. Like, check it off the list.
Why not do a little comedy? Why not get like a, I was going to use a real one, but that probably would, you get PETA to go on you. Go get like a stuffed animal wolf, put it in there, open it up, and kind of animate a wolf coming out of it, or speak to the brand.
I know. Well, I realized in there, they don't even, like the people that win that, it's not like the appliances don't even stand out. It's just like a moody picture, you know? It's like, so
I think it is.
I have new goals this year, and that is one of them.
Award submissions are hard because it depends on if the judges are in person, that's totally different. If they're doing it based on just digital photography, and the write-ups are really important. Yeah. So how you write or how you describe it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, there's Chat GPT.
Yeah, that does help.
I used to enter photography contests all the time. And I mean, that's how I got my like master's, to be a master photographer. I had to win so many of those. So I love the competition. I just love it. And that's why we did Parade of Homes this last year. Is the Parade of Homes is, in a way, it's a competition.
For sure it is. It's your brand. It's a brand competition to the public.
Yeah. And so we were just so happy because all we wanted was people's choice. But we ended up getting best elevation, best interior design, which I'm so excited about. And then we got judge's choice, realtor's choice, and people's choice.
Oh my, that was like a clean sweep. That's like going to the Oscars and like just one film, just taking them all down. Like
hugging my.
It was weird. We'd be walking off the stage and I go, the Penzac, you need to come back up here. You know, so it's like okay.
It was fun. It was so fun. And we're very proud. That just happened like a couple months ago. So
well, I remember because I called you. That's when when we were launching into Texas for the Curious Builder Collective. At this point, I pretty much you want to work with people in trust that can carry the brand, but also people that have similar values. And a lot of them, I think actually almost all of them, are Contractor Coalition alumni. And obviously I thought of you in Texas. You're the only two builders that I know, plus people that I respect. And I was like, oh, I've got to call Angela. And I think you were actually prepping that house for the tour. It was like, and you're like, I think I didn't even get out like 3 sentences. And you said, yeah, I'm in. I'm like, I didn't even tell you, I don't need it. I was just like, I know enough to know enough. Like, I'm good. She's like, I gotta get back to styling this house and get this thing ready for sell.
And Dave goes, what are we doing?
No. It's like, were you going to have a conversation with me about that this is something else that you're going to do?
No, I'm the manager here of our
David, when she said I do, you forfeited a lot of your choices. I think you know that.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know I'm the boss.
Yeah.
You know what? Speaking of that, so it's funny, David. You'll get probably all men will probably relate to this. So the other, I have three little kids. I've got a 9-year-old. She turns 9 here in a couple days,
Mhm.
2 days, and then a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old. And the other day, Tate, my 5-year-old, I forget he wanted something, and I said, "Go ask your mom," or it was something, whatever it
Right.
was. And he looks at me and he goes, "Dad, is mom your boss?" And I
I
just
love it.
lost it laughing, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh my
that
god.
is an interesting question. I said, why don't you ask mom if she's the boss? And so my wife's a physician. And so you've got two alpha A's making decisions. And it's so funny because like she used to handle all her social media content. And about 3 months ago, she just said it's just too much between her job and just probably there's just,
Oh,
being
social
at
media is
home.
like a
It's
full-time.
a lot. And so we hired a company. I've been very happy with it. So anyway, I'm having
Good.
my little guy was sick yesterday. So we're both working from home, and she was doing some charting because Simon was sick, so she had to come home. I had to leave, go to the office. Well, anyway, long story short, I'm having this marketing meeting with my social media team. I have two separate teams, one for Kirsch Builder and one for Mark Williams Custom Homes. And I was making something that from the other couch, I heard her say, "Hey, team, like you don't have to listen to his ideas." Like basically, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute. You said you didn't want to do this anymore, but you still want an opinion on what's happening."
Yeah,
And it was just really funny that I often joke with my male clients, just don't feel bad. I'm the builder, but I don't have a say in my own house either.
I
And
know. And I'm sure she actually really liked doing it. It's just that when you have so much going on with kids and another job, like sometimes you just have to give it up.
it was you
Mm.
mentioned it earlier, Angela, creativity. I think one thing that social media does an amazing job is it's an outlet for creativity. The
Uh-huh.
problem is it becomes a machine. So at some point, your creativity is not that it's stunted, but if it becomes an obligation, it becomes difficult. And I've always been a big fan of like, do what you love and hire out the things that you don't. And I think that's probably hard for you because now you're hiring out photography, but you also do love it. And so that was actually going
But
to
you
lead
know
into
what?
my,
I've
yeah.
realized I was really, really sad when I closed my studio. Like it was just matter of fact, my website is still out there and it says like I need to just shut it off. It says
No, it's great. It
Why do you,
shows
yeah.
if you
and
can just keep it up. You said that it's closed, but you have phenomenal work on
I know,
there.
but why do I need to even have that out there? So I'm just like, so
Well, do you still
I
get
think
leads
it's
off of it? I mean, do people email you
no,
off of it? Oh,
no.
okay.
I had a hard time letting it go, that career. Like I loved it so much. So it took me a long time to like I came over full time with our company. It took me a while to love this as much as that, but now I do, and now I just wouldn't go back. I love the design aspect. Matter of fact, I love it so much that other builders have asked me to help them with design selections and all that stuff. And people keep asking, I'm like, what? Yes, I'll do that. So I just recently opened a design firm with a partner, and her and she does the furniture part of it. And she does the interior design too. And she can do all the renderings, and we just have different talents. And so, yeah, so I opened another business. There you go.
Hey, there you go. Serial entrepreneur. How are you handling that? I assume that's your creative outlet. You enjoy the interior design.
I love it. I mean, I will stay up late at night and he goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, looking at chandeliers."
Do you feel like for your clients when they come in, like for architecture, are you doing that in house or are you hiring that out?
No, we hire that out, so it's not in-house, but we do have one person that we use probably 90% of the time because she just understands the quality that we like and kind of our specs. And she has a whole list. It's called like the Pensac builder list that she has to go
Yep.
through on the plans.
Yep.
And she's patient. So I like that with the clients. Like if they don't like something, she's like, "Okay, yeah,
And yeah, so we just had a client that wanted one style, and that's initially how the plan was working. And then they went to a Parade of Homes and wanted a whole different style. And she's very okay and just trying to understand what you
yeah."
want and does it. So it's just
But
where
we will go. I mean, we are open to other architects and just we're not saying we wouldn't do that, but we just have one that just
What
we like.
what percentage of the homes that you do are spec homes versus build to suit?
Well, we only do one spec home per like maybe year and a half to 2 years.
year and a
One.
half, yeah, one
And then we build about, well, we have like what, seven right now on
in
the project?
pre-construction.
Uh-huh. 6 or 7. So that's it. That's a max. We don't really want to take more than that.
How big is your team?
We're very heavy on the female side right now. Okay, so
I'm losing control.
we have a team of 5, I think. So we have a bookkeeper, that's in the office full time. We just hired an interior designer and she knows commercial too, and so she's really good. Her skill set is different than all of ours. She can do renderings and go in rooms and put furniture in and different things. And then we hired our daughter who just graduated from Texas Tech, and she got a business degree, and she was summa cum laude. She's 4.0 student. We got her to come work for us, and she's actually an assistant project manager to him. Like she's
And
very
she's
good at managing people.
almost better than me already.
Yeah, she's going to take over
really
the
good.
company hopefully one day.
Yeah.
And then we have another one this is crazy. So we hired her. She was an interior designer. And her husband got a job in Orlando. So I was so sad. I mean, literally, she'd been working for us for 2 years and amazing. And at first, we hired her for interior design, but then she kind of was more project management. You know how you hire someone for one thing, but you figure out that their skill set is better in another spot, right?
I mean, it's kind of like the right person in the wrong seat. And so now
Yeah.
you're just asking
Even
them,
though I
was she
figured
yeah.
all do a little bit of everything. And when you have a small company,
Yeah, agreed.
my bookkeeper sometimes is over at a job site cleaning. She's like, oh, I'm going to go clean the job site. I mean, this
Wow.
is what we just do what you got to do, right? For your business.
Yeah.
And I love that. So when we hire them, we're like, you're a team player. So even though this is your job duties, you might be doing other things. And so anyway, that's our team. She moved to Orlando, so she works remotely for us. Can you believe I thought maybe it wasn't going to work out? Oh no.
She's the punch list drill sergeant, man. She's on her phone 8 hours a day.
So how does she do that? I mean, that's impressive to a certain point, but does she command respect from the people, the trades in the field?
They
or
all
how is
knew
she?
her for.
Well, most
that
of ours
helps.
knew her when she was here, but she schedules them all. So she's like, hey, we got the cabinet guys coming to this house. At this house, we have, this person coming this day. So she puts it all in the calendar.
Yep.
And then
Are you guys using Builder Trend, or what are you using
Yes,
for?
Builder
Okay.
Trend.
Yep,
Yeah.
Builder Trend. She puts in all the change orders in Builder Trend. It's stuff that she can do remotely,
Oh,
right?
no, for sure. That's what's so appealing. It's interesting because we have a lot of clients where, let's say they're gone or out of town, where Builder Trend is really nice. Obviously, as a software, as the builder, you could be remote too. I think we're going to start seeing there is a certain point where you still need the fact that she was there for a couple of years obviously gives her a lot of loyalty and a lot of clout with the people.
Yes.
She must have someone, whether it's you guys or your daughter or someone who, is at the job site,
Yes.
because she couldn't, unless she flies into town for punch, like how would she even know what
She
needs to be
did
done?
last week. So
Oh, really? She flies in for punch. That's amazing.
we went to Costa Rica and we flew her in for a week.
That's
we
awesome.
were gone in Costa Rica, so we just had it.
She had the supervision at the job. She had partial dog care.
Oh yeah, she was partial dog sitter for us.
She just stayed at the house.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because
great.
you see one advantage that designers and architects have over builders traditionally, unless you're an owner's rep, is you can work all over the country as a designer and architect. You can fly in. A lot of the designers I use, like I'm working with Oho Interior Design right now, Melissa Holant and her team. She actually lives in Colorado and she comes back to Minnesota 1 week a month, but she does stuff all over the country. And designers can move, right? But traditionally, like a builder, because I love the mountains and I would love to live in the mountains, Montana, Colorado, wherever. Yeah. After 20 some years in an area A, you have a brand, you have all your people. And sometimes, like my wife, as I mentioned, is a physician, and she had said, hey, would we ever want to move somewhere? Because as a doctor, she could get a job at any hospital.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'm sure I could. It would take some time to vet all your subs and to restart, and no one's going to know Mark Williams Custom Homes in Colorado or wherever else.
It's true. You know what, though, Mark, I feel like no one knew us either because even though, custom home building was kind of our second career for both of us. And even though our first one was in 2012, our business didn't really kick off until 18 or 19.
Yep.
So if you think about it, that's only 6 years ago. And he didn't really want to do the parade of homes, I remember, but I feel like that really helped our business so much doing that. And I go, hey, we're on the fast track marketing because it's like we're new still, but we're not new.
That kind of leads into you're talking about the parade home. And so every spec except the last spec that we built, that's not counting the parade home, either sold before or within a month after we built it. So we knew we were building something that was a right fit and better quality in the neighborhood we were building in. So it went pretty quick. As a matter of fact, I've built 3 homes in my direct neighborhood. They were all owned by other people. They saw how we built our house. I wrote them and told them I wanted to build there, and they sold me the land. So like right in our neighborhood. So, but the last spec that we built, yeah, I got hit, in lumber on COVID on that house and a couple other things. And we ended up carrying that house for 16 months. It was
Oof.
10 grand a month.
Oh, I have
Out.
PTSD from that, but that was the only one that happened. Sometimes you gotta, it's lessons learned, but you know what though? We would go
So
with
what
that.
would you do? What would you do differently in hindsight, looking at that? I mean, so you held that for 160 grand.
Here's what I think I got from the whole thing is that, and I'm just going to call it a God thing, okay? As stressful as was, we worked almost every weekend in that house
Doing an open house.
doing an open house. And we got 4 builds from being there where no one else was getting any builds.
Well, I don't know that anyone else wasn't getting builds.
Well, no, but I mean, we wouldn't have had the name exposure, or if we'd sold that early, we wouldn't have had that business.
No, I know. So it was just meant to be that way. And I hold my real estate license, so I was able to list the house, and get real estate business off of it too. It was all good. We didn't
Wait a
know
minute.
why.
We've got a plate company that's defunct. We've got a photography company that we can't let go, but still is out there somewhere. We've got a new interior design company. We've got a
Yeah.
building company. You're a mother, and by the way, you also have your real estate license. So okay,
I'm also on the board of our builder association, and also I just signed up to. Dave was real excited when I told him. I said, "Hey, we're going to build this veteran who his house is falling apart downtown with Operation Triage, and our Builders Association and National Home Builders Association is also involved."
Yeah.
And I said, "I signed us up to be the builder on this house." And Dave was like, "You did what?"
No. It got announced at one of our meetings, right? And
Yeah.
then
And I
all of a
ran.
sudden she gets up. She doesn't say anything to me. She just walks up to the front and tells the lady, "We're doing it."
Yeah.
Well, my dad was a veteran and he just passed away last year. So I feel like this is our way of giving back and honoring him. And so we did the demolition yesterday, and
wow.
we're going to build this.
Go check out.
We're going to build this.
It's on the
I
ground.
wish I had someone to do a whole documentary on it, because it's just going to be so cool. We're going to try to build it in like 4 months.
When it comes to quality, craftsmanship, and performance, Pella sets the standard. Whether you're building custom homes or designing a timeless space, Pella offers innovative window and door solutions that blend beauty and efficiency. With showrooms and experts around the country, Pella makes it easy to find the perfect fit for your next project and their team to support it. Build with confidence, build with Pella. Visit Pella.com to explore products and connect with your local rep today. For more information, you can listen to episode 1 or listen to episode 109, where we bring on Pella owners and founders at Pella Northland, as well as their innovative team behind the Steady Set innovation. So when you work with an association like that, the inner mechanics, because we have something here in Minnesota called Housing First Minnesota, and they're doing a veterans village, and I think people can volunteer their time or money or material.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of similar with the association? So
Yep.
you're spearheading it, but you're not obviously paying for this home out of your own pocket, right?
No, but and that's where these vendor relationships come in so handy, because we're so loyal to our vendors, and we went to our vendors and asked them for the donation we have
Anderson Window gave us all the windows for the home.
Yes, and then Builders First Source is giving us doors. We got Cambria giving us stuff. We have Sir Tile, of course,
Schluter.
So yes, and then Reese Kitchen and Bath, they gave all the appliances and everything.
Our job's to help work
James
with everybody
Hardy
to collect it all.
Yeah, just these are vendors that we use and love and are part of CBUSA, and that's where all that really comes in handy. And they couldn't believe that we got all these donations.
I think a big part of it is simple. You have to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that sounds super oversimplified. I think when we're doing something with the Joy Collaborative, I had Mark Ostrom on the podcast a year ago, and he in Minnesota, it's a nonprofit that helps children in Minnesota with life-limiting disabilities.
Mhm.
And he just said he's in a small group, networking group of mine. And obviously, when you hear him talk about 66,000 kids in need, you get goosebumps on your arm and you're like, I'm going to quit my job and go work for this.
Yeah.
Because there's something about children
Yeah.
that just, you'd have to be a stone not to be moved by it.
Right.
And as a dad of three, like I'm especially susceptible to my emotions around children, just because you feel that pull in wanting to help people. And so we said, hey, we'll do an event at one of our homes. And then I asked our trade base, I was blown away at how many, that was our first foray into sort of charity work locally. And I just sometimes, and this is just my own thing, but you read the paper and there's all these terrible things that are happening in the world. And it's hard to know sometimes as you're eating a breakfast or eat healthy. It's just hard to know how to balance some of this stuff out. And I don't know the answer. This wasn't meant to be maybe coming out, but just comes out now thinking about charity work is like all you can do is really be involved in your local community and try to, I don't know, for
Right.
me personally, I'm like, I can't solve hunger in Africa. Nor do I feel personally called for that. I certainly am glad that some people do feel called to do that, but I can do something in my local community to somebody I know. And it was really empowering to see my painter, my cabinet shop. It wasn't huge, maybe it was $500 or $1,000, or honestly, it was
Yeah.
just maybe them being there. And I was really moved by the people that felt moved to sort of show up and support. And we threw a really big event of 60, 70 people all there to try to help raise money. And I don't know. I was just really impressed at people that spearhead that. And you guys should be commended for that for sure. And anyone that's I feel like homes, especially because we're in the home building business, I've spent a lot of time talking about this recently, but I'll ask you the question. David, what was the address of the home you grew up in?
Ooh. You realize I'm old now, Art.
No, but can you pull it off the top of your head or no?
I can't because I was a military brat. I think I moved
Yeah,
10 different times.
You moved a lot.
Oh, yeah. We lived in Germany.
I know the street name, but not the address.
That's fine. What was the street name?
Low water.
Low Water, Lexington, Kentucky.
And so where I'm going with this is that home building is really emotional, and a lot of us shape our lives there. Unless you're Angela and they move every 2 years all across the world, and then it's that becomes a little bit different. But I guess my point in bringing that up is that I think the reason it resonates with charity work is people realize that people have a home that they need to live in. They can relate to it because they have a home, they're raising their family. And so I love how active home builders are in their community. And I feel like I just want to celebrate them for the work that they do.
It's so weird that you just brought that up because I had a dream last night. I was like, what if I went back to every house I ever lived on and photographed it and then made a coffee table book? That'd be so cool.
Yeah. I mean, and think of one thing that
So
we
I'm
had
just gonna hire someone else.
yeah, you can't do the photography yourself.
Here she
Or
goes again,
you could put a baby in each photo in the bushes. You could do like, hey, I need 100 babies because I need to put these babies in the front bushes and then take a picture
And
of
then
the
I
house.
stick a white plate somewhere in there.
Oh God.
Yeah, you'll for sure be in the paper, but probably for wrong reasons. David and I will have to come bail you out and realize, hey, this was for good reason. She's not stealing babies here. Oh, we went off the rails on this one.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, that's the entertainment side. You come for the curious builder, but you might stay for a curious story. What is your one thing I actually really appreciate on your website is most of us, and that was something I talked a lot about at the Contractor Coalition, was pre-construction agreements. And what was interesting about your website is you actually disclose what it is. It's 15,000. Looks like it's just a flat fee.
Yeah.
And I was just curious how you came up to that number, B, what people say about it. I've just been impressed at how clear your mission statement. People don't have any question. Hey, it's 15,000. They're going to help me. I assume that doesn't include architecture or plan drawing, but that is obviously, it looks like interior design selections based on what I read.
Yeah, it does include some. We don't get into super details because we will just come up with allowances for some of them.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm not going to go to every tile store and design every single bathroom before we know if we're getting a contract. That would just be a waste of time.
You're basically just shaping it. And so
Yeah. We just work so hard and we put so much time and hours. I mean, gosh, I'd love to just add up the hours you use in pre-construction. I think it is foolish for any builder to just price out a home and do all that work for free. Like it's just too much. If you're doing it
100%.
accurately and you're really actually getting a price for a home, I mean,
Not just estimating. Yeah.
I think don't you think it's also helps you identify your ideal client right away too? Because
Yes.
I remember I've probably been doing a pre-construction agreement way before I knew that's what it was called. And it was much smaller amount than that. Now I use a 10,000 flat fee, but then I list out other services, survey work. Maybe I'll capture interior design. I don't have anything in house, so I might work with an interior designer, but then capture them in. But it's similar to you. It's shaping what the budget will be. They have
right.
to spend, if they're not willing to spend 15,000 on a $2-3 million build, it tells me a little bit like this is probably either A, someone that can't afford what we do, or B, someone maybe I don't want to work with, because if they're not willing to put a little money into design,
That's
in,
true. They literally don't blink about it. They are fine
right.
with it. And
Yep.
and then we do know we have the right client because they have to put a little investment in as well.
Yep.
We have, in addition to the 15,000, which is a non-refundable amount to us, and then they will pay the architect directly. They'll own the plan, so they pay for it. But we go to every meeting with them in that design process. Sometimes
We do.
it's Zoom, sometimes it's direct,
Yep.
so that we fully understand the project, which allows us to
And it
understand and
really
price it.
helps too because sometimes architects will, as they'll overdraw a house and then the person is, oh, wait, like I can't afford this house. So we have to keep all that under control in realizing what the budget is. And people are like, oh, how much are you a square foot? Well, I don't know. Do you have 50 windows? Do you have 100 windows? Like it's all so custom. And so during those design meetings, we can keep that under control. Like I already know, hey, if you're going to get that 10-foot by 20-foot slider, that's going to cost 30 grand, you know? Do
Yeah, I mean,
we?
I use it as a selling, like a positive selling tool, that by
Uh-huh.
doing this, you are engaging us to be with you over the next 4 to 6 months or however long it takes to really be there as your concierge, your hospitality.
Yeah.
We help them. A lot of times people come to in Minnesota. It's just, I think it might be, we have the oldest parade of homes in the country. I think we just celebrated our 75th anniversary. And so it's just in the DNA that a lot of people go to builders first, which is obviously good for us. We're builders, but not that they don't go to architects and designers, but predominantly it's through the builders first. And so I usually will say, if you're not working with an architect, here's 2 or 3 I think would align based on your budget, based on your style, based on who we really think is going to be the best fit. Based on, I usually will meet with them obviously first, get them under a pre-construction agreement, and at that point, we're basically being there.
They're
Um,
advocate. And
mhm.
actually, I think it saves them money doing that because you're going to make less mistakes. We're going to really have our eyes on that plan, making sure that every door swing is the right way, that, where a pocket door needs to be, all these things that, we help them through that. I just feel like it ends up being so much better than just someone coming to us with plans like, here, I have plans and like, can you build this?
It also takes you guys are you can just tell in the way you talk, you care deeply and you enjoy what you do, but we're very relationship driven people. And so I
Mhm.
think it becomes difficult if you are just bidding a plan, you're just a number. Like I'm just not sure. There are certain times where I really want to work with that architect or it fits a need that I want. And it's not that I can't create a relationship, but I feel like you're taking my greatest asset away. And you're saying if my greatest asset is, let's say, people connection and people skills
Mhm.
and understanding like what it is you're trying to create, the experience you're trying to, because it's not, I mean, the house needs to be able to stand on its own. We don't probably spend enough time as builders talking about the experience. We often say, hey, I can build this house for whatever per foot, or this is the art, but what about the experience?
So
What
that's
about,
that's my thing too,
Mhm.
because we were both in kind of a hospitality business
Yeah.
before. So the experience is very important to us, and we are people pleasers, and so I try to make it like when we go to our cabinet appointments, I'll bring a charcuterie board with me and a bottle of wine,
Oh, I
and
like that.
the owner of my cabinet, he'll take them on a tour. And the other day, my cabinet maker goes, you're the only one that does this, right? And I was like, oh, well, see, because I love this. I want it to be fun. The whole process should be fun for them. It can't be just all about the money all the time. And just, I mean,
Do you remember what Brad said when we were at Nashville? He said some of his stuff in Arizona takes 2, 3, 4 years long. So,
mhm.
but he's like every 6 months he would take his clients out for dinner, not
Right.
talking about the job. And he said it humorously, like the goal is people don't sue people that they have dinner with. That was just a little bit of a twinkle in his eye kind of thing. But
But you become friends with them.
well,
You
right.
Yes.
you
In
really
the,
do.
Yeah.
but when it's people to people, we just had an issue the other day where the homeowner called me, they were frustrated in person. they're the nicest people. And on the phone, you've got this distance. It allows them to be a little tougher in their talk. And it wasn't a super great conversation, but you got to work through it. And the idea is that when you're person to person and most people just don't have it in them to just grind someone else to dust. And
I know.
so,
Do you have that little happy face map thing that goes up and down during the build? Do you have that?
the emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that should be in the contract.
You have what do you
Like,
mean by happy face? You have like a happy face on your roller coaster?
they're happy at the beginning when the
Oh,
slab's getting poured, and then by the time we're in like the rough-in, and it takes like
mhm.
months, they're like, "Hey, why isn't anything happening?"
What's interesting, about a year ago, we started mapping out the client experience, and it sort of stalled with some of our other initiatives. I have it all mapped out. The
Mhm.
emotional roller coaster, they shared that with us, and we've done some work on it as well. Part of it is implementing it into our month. Like I have an idea of what I want my team, my project coordinator. We actually just hired someone about a month ago, so maybe I'll have Angie as her name, start monitoring that. But once a month, we would ask the client for a rating on a scale from 1 to 10. And Nick Schiffer actually talked about this, that if it was a 9 or a 10, it would invoke no action. For him, I think it was like a 7 or 8. The PM called them. Anything below a 7, like he called the client immediately. And like their standard was it has to be, if you are giving us anything below a 7 or 8, like something is wrong. Like we want 9s and 10s. It's a little bit kind of like when you ask people for 5-star reviews. And if they don't give it you one, you want to say, well, what is preventing you before you rate it? Like before you're rating us a 5, like let us know what we need to do to be a
Yeah,
5. And like that
yeah.
is honestly, that's preemptive hospitality. That is opening the door for saying, hey,
But
we're
I think
looking
if
for
you
your
go through a
critique.
build and your client is not frustrated at some point over something,
No,
to me,
they're
that's
always going to get
normal.
frustrated. No,
Oh,
don't you use that
But
line?
I think you should tell them that in the beginning.
I
You
do.
say, "At one point, you're gonna be frustrated at something, but it's okay. As long as they can tell us and we are going to
fix it.
fix it or make it right, that's all that matters, really."
Well, I usually kind of humorously I said at some point during this build, someone's going to cry. Now it might be tears of joy and it might be tears of anguish, but someone's sure shooting is going to cry
Yeah.
at this. And like you kind of
Yeah.
say it funny, right?
Or
But
they're
like the
gonna say,
goal,
"I'm never gonna build again," you know?
right? And like the only
Yeah.
other one that I try to combat a lot is when people always say that's how many times have you heard someone say this is my forever house?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
And I honestly,
Yeah.
this is just me on my soapbox here, but I can't stand that saying. And sometimes, depending on who the client is, I'll sometimes say, "Nah, your forever house is a coffin." And this idea, and what I'm trying to
Oh,
combat is not their sentimentality, because I'm fine with them saying that I'm fine with dream home. What I don't like about forever home is we don't know what's going to happen in our life. We don't know if we're
that's
going to
true.
get paralyzed or have a life limiting condition, or and getting a little serious, but that is true. And so, again, you got to read the room. And I don't
Right.
always come off quite this crass, or not crass, but just like straight to the point. But I try to like to remind them, like I'm trying to prevent them from thinking like this is perfect. Like if anyone ever says we are drilling a perfect house, or that's like a red
Oh,
flag
no.
and a
absolutely
blaring
not.
horn in my face, because we're building a one of a kind house outside in the elements, rain, snow, shine, cold, humidity, working with 1,000 different people. Expectations that we're held to and that we hold ourselves to is very, very high.
But also,
And
I think
so,
too, you have to tell clients, like, people make mistakes. That's
mhm,
one of the biggest things that I struggle with, is that clients have to understand that people make mistakes. Like, I
mhm.
mean, my poor trim guy, he was hanging a mirror the other day, and it was a big giant mirror, and he just accidentally like hit it down on the ground too hard, and the whole thing shattered.
Shattered.
We have to buy another mirror, and I felt bad because I didn't really I he needed to pay for it in a way, but also I felt bad because, well, it was just a mistake. So for me, I'm going, "Hey, these are the kind of mistakes that happen in life. Let's all just be a team together. Let's figure it out. No pointing fingers at one sub that they did this and they did that." That's
I
where
heard a quote recently, I forget who said it, and it was like, "Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions."
Yes.
And I
Oh my
like that. I mean, I like that a lot.
yes.
I like that's our whole team is very solution based. We're like, okay, so this happened. Like, what's the solution? Let's like figure it out.
That's
So
funny. Well, I
yeah,
want to respect your time. We're at an hour and the audience's time as well. And
we can go
maybe
on for longer if
I
you
we
want.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, easy. Well, yeah, David didn't even get to talk about his 15 other businesses. Give me maybe one thing. What are you excited for here for the rest of the year? What are maybe one thing out there that you're really excited about?
I'm I'm excited about the veteran home doing that.
Hmm.
That's a really fun, rewarding thing to do. We'll soon start planning for the 2027 parade.
Parade. We're
Wow.
Um,
gonna do this again.
Yeah.
And so we're like challenging ourselves because I was so in love with that other house. And I'm like, how can we make this better? Like, but that's such a cool challenge to have.
And I
So
have
Was it
some
the
really
lot? What made that one such a successful build? Because you sold that, it went into the parade unsold and sold the first weekend, or what was the story on
well,
that?
no, I didn't even put it on the market till a month after because I wanted to use it as kind of a model. Like, just I wasn't. I knew it was. I think we were scared to sell it fast because it was
Yeah, I really didn't want to
getting
sell
us
it.
so much business, and just like it was kind of our model home. So I think we had the parade in November, beginning November. I don't think I put it on the market till sometime in December, and then we sold it in March. So,
So you
um,
were able to hold on to it for a few months.
Oh
So you
yeah.
yeah.
just sold it.
Oh, and now we have a concierge service because we're actually managing the house, and the house they bought the house next door, so we're managing that for them, and because they're not here full time, it's like a second house. So
Second
yeah,
houses.
yeah, both. So we're managing that as a concierge service, and we will have a car for them at the airport when they come, and we will have managed the pool and the yard and all that stuff. So
Well, that
there you
sounds
go.
great.
I
Well,
know.
we'll have everything in the show notes, all your contact, your Instagram handles, everything like that. And then for
Okay.
anyone in Texas near you guys that want to be part of the Curious Builder Collective, you can go to just curiousbuilder.com, and under collectives, you can go to Texas and you can get signed up there, and you guys can get together a couple times a year
Yeah.
and pick each other's
Yes.
brains and elevate. And I'm hoping, actually, I haven't told you this. I'm going down to, I think I'm going to Houston. How far away is Houston from you guys?
3 hours.
Okay, I'm coming
Almost
down there in
is
July for a conference that they're going to have me speak at, and so Trent is having me go down there, and it's kind of fun because I
is
get to
that
talk about.
something we can come to?
Yeah, well, for sure you can. Yeah, it's open. I think it's. I'll look at the. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Mm,
The name of the conference. It's.
okay.
But I get to talk about wellness, which I'm really excited about. So sauna camp and boot camp. Boot camp is going to be happening here in May out in Zion National Park. For those that haven't heard about it, it's on the website. But
Okay.
essentially, it's how do we get builders away from their phones? And it's 3 days out in Zion National Park. It's a glamping situation. There's this really place called Under Canvas. That's amazing, right outside the park. And it's basically 3 days, no phones, and you're just with other business owners, doing long hikes, doing
Wow.
some workouts, and just
You
I,
do
I
so many things too, Mark.
yeah.
Like, I don't know how you do all that,
Well,
you know?
you have way more businesses than I do, so
Oh,
uh, yeah.
Yeah.
The White Plate Company, I like that. Does that website still exist? Because
No,
oh,
no,
come
what?
on.
What
the
website?
white plate company.
No, but Angela in Portraits does.
Oh God, why'd you have
We
to
might
say
have
it?
we might have to put that one on the website. Just or the
AngelaInPortraits.com.
love it. Let's blow that one up.
Amazing. And I did get her to end up shooting, and she got really good at it. So you'll see some of the food photography on there of what we served and stuff like that.
Well,
Check it out.
I was all about photographing the food. Then you get to eat it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. Well, thanks again for coming on the Curious Builder podcast, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks for inviting us. It's
It was
fun.
great.
We missed you,
Excellent.
Mark. We got a whole hour of your time.
Yeah, it is nice when everyone's so busy. It is hard to get people to. It's funny you say that, Angela. One of the things that, and maybe this is like anything, when you schedule it, you have the time, right? And I think one thing that's nice about the podcast is it does force you to turn off your phone to respect, obviously, the people that you're interviewing's time. But it actually, I find it calming because you're just one-on-one having a nice conversation
Yeah.
with somebody, and I just feel like I don't even know what's happening. It's 3 minutes from now, we'll open up our phone and see, like any other business owner, all the things that are happening. But it is nice to have that
It
time
is.
of quiet.
I know. Well, invite us back. We'll be.
I sure will. All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like this episode, do us a favor. Share it with 3 other business owners. The best way that we can spread what we're doing is by word of mouth. And with your help, we can continue to help other curious builders expand their business. Please share it with your friends, like and review online. And thanks again for tuning in.